Kathy, can you hear me? Um, my can right, right. Okay. Is my camera on? No. Okay. Right, my camera's on. That's fine. Thank you, Kim. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Hello? Can anyone hear me? Hello? Hi, guys. Sorry, I understand that your mics are disabled, so I do apologize for any technical hiccups there. I'm assuming you can all hear me. Um, so I'm just going to start the session if that's okay. So this session is embedding restorative practice in housing policy, and my name is Kathy Chataway. I welcome, by the way, and thank you all for attending the meeting. I am one of the associates and the lead practitioner with Green ADR Mediation. I also have a background in community safety, so I'm a trained mediator, but I also was head of community safety for a large organisation in Bradford before my retirement. So I'm going to start if everyone's okay with that. So what this session is going to do is it's going to explore what it takes. I'm just going to share my screen with you all. Hang on a second there. Uh, can everyone see the presentation? Can somebody let me know if they can see the presentation for me, please? I'm so sorry, guys. I don't know what's going on. I can't seem to pull up the presentation. I can see it, but you can't, and it's not giving me the option to share my screen with you. Do you want me to carry on? Just carry on and do the presentation, and then I can have it sent to you. How does that sound? Or would you prefer to see it as I present it? I'm so sorry. Okay, I'm just going to carry on with the presentation and then I'm going to send it to you all. Again, please accept my apologies. I'm so sorry. Brilliant. Thank you. Okay, so basically in this session, we're just going to be exploring why restorative practice should be a cornerstone of your good neighbourhood management policy and the benefits it brings to the community and your organisation. So, obviously, neighbourhoods are the building blocks of our society. Diverse individuals and families come together to form communities. And while such diversity enriches communities, it also brings challenges in the form of differing perspectives, interests, and goals. And to ensure harmony and sustainable community development, it's crucial for neighbourhood management policies to include robust conflict resolution mechanisms. And this just explores this presentation, the multifaceted reasons why conflict resolution should be a cornerstone of your neighbourhood management policy and the benefits it will bring to your community. A good neighbourhood management policy and procedure, what is it? So obviously your policy is your overarching statement about how you'll deal with conflict. And your procedure is the specific details of how you can achieve that. I would say to you, there's lots of organisations used to include restorative practices if they had any in their ASB policies. And recently, and they don't always need, when something needs a restorative practice or a restorative solution, they don't need an ASB response. So lots of organisations now use a good neighbourhood management policy and procedure whereby they will include how they will include restorative practices or something that doesn't need an ASB response, but that will need a response from the organisation. So a good neighbourhood policy will help you manage expectations of your customers. You can be clear about what you will and what you won't deal with and how you will use restorative practices and what they are used for. It will help to support you with complaints, with housing ombudsman, referrals, etc. And it's also included in the neighbourhood standard, the regulatory standards around how you will deal with conflict and how you will deal with the low-level ASB, which often includes neighbour disputes. It will help you prepare for legal activity or legal action if you have to go down that route. So, what is restorative practice? Well, it's the process of addressing disputes, disagreements, or grievances between parties in a constructive manner. So involves identifying the source of the conflict, facilitating dialogue, and arriving at mutually agreeable solutions. Proactive approach, which is more than a solution focused strategy. And it's a means to prevent potential escalations and foster trust among neighbour and communities. And basically, it is allowing customers to, it's something that's done with them, not to them. It's allowing customers to have a say in how they manage conflict, which in turn can help them to manage conflict in a better way so that you don't need to be involved. And they will arrive at mutually agreeable solutions that are that work for them, either as neighbours or as communities. So the key principles of restorative practice are transparency, open and honest communication that ensures all parties feel heard and understood. Neutrality, impartial mediation allows for unbiased solutions that satisfy all involved parties. I often find that when, particularly in my old role, if somebody in the organisation, because we had some trained mediators, they weren't deemed as impartial, whereas an impartial mediation it allows independence and it works better with customers. A cooperative approach encourages participation, participants to work together towards a shared resolution, and empathy. Understanding diverse practices, perspectives helps to address the root causes of disagreements. So why restorative practices are crucial in neighbourhood management policies? Well, it encourages engagement. So when residents see their landlord prioritises constructive dialogue and resolution, they're more likely to participate in communal activities and decision-making processes within their community. Restorative practices signal that everyone's voice matters, inspiring greater resident engagement. Preventing escalation of disputes. So again, small disagreements can quickly escalate to larger conflicts if they're left unaddressed. For instance, disputes over noise levels, parking spaces, or property boundaries. Even children playing can grow into significant issues affecting neighbourhoods. And restorative practices provide a structured framework to address the disputes promptly before they spiral out of control. Strengthening community bonds. So resolving conflicts in a collaborative way and an empathetic manner can help to build trust and strengthen relationships within your communities. And when individuals feel their concerns are acknowledged and addressed, they're more likely to contribute positively to their own neighbourhoods. And they also promote safety and security. So conflicts, if left unchecked, as we all know, lead to escalation of issues, including instances of aggression or violence, compromising the safety of residents. And restorative practice framework ensures disputes are handled peacefully and effectively reducing the likelihood of such risks. I'm just going to check the chat. Any questions around any of this? No, okay. Brilliant. I'll carry on. So what are the key components of a restorative practice framework within your policy? So the key components should be a community. There are 4 key components. A community mediation program. So a successful neighbourhood management policy should include the following components. So establishing mediation programs led by trained professionals offers a neutral platform for resolving disputes. Mediators can guide residents towards mutually beneficial solutions while maintaining fairness and transparency. And that can be either a community mediation program within your organisation or an external program. It may be that you train mediators, you train your own staff to mediate your conflicts. And if you do that, I would say my only comment would be that if you're going to, they should be independent of the case, so they shouldn't be involved in the case in any way. Yeah, I mean, they're completely independent. They're completely independent of all parties, and a good mediator will make that clear. And so the solutions, they maintain fairness and transparency and try to offer practical solutions or engage your customers to come to their own practical solutions. Your policy should also include a conflict prevention strategy. So conflict resolution is not solely about addressing existing disputes, it's also about preventing new ones. And education programs focusing on communication skills, cultural awareness, and problem solving techniques can preclude many issues. And again, that goes for staff and customers alike. Opportunities to restore relationships where there is clear evidence of damage or harm. The person who has caused the harm is given an opportunity to put right the harm. And this is commonly referred to as restorative justice or restorative practices. Now, I know lots of restorative justice historically was done by the police, but again, more and more organisations are looking at restorative practices in their within their organisation to allow residents to resolve conflict, and if harm is caused, if they're given an opportunity, whether that's an apology, a letter of an apology, or I don't know, if there's some graffiti on a wall, low level, and they're given the opportunity to clean it off. Practical solutions such as that work really, really well. The other thing your policy should contain is an acceptable complaints mechanism, and that will ensure that your residents have easy access to channels where they can voice concerns. And these complaint mechanisms are essential, and they should be straightforward, confidential, and responsive. And then ensuring peaceful coexistence. So neighbourhoods often consist of individuals from varying cultural, social, and economic backgrounds. And whilst diversity can be very enriching, it can sometimes lead to misunderstandings or disputes. And by incorporating restorative practices into your policies, residents and communities can address differences constructively, fostering an environment where peaceful coexistence thrives. Okay, so why is tackling conflict so important for housing? Because it creates tenancy sustainment. There's less income lost through voids. There's more accountability for dealing with conflict and the consumer standards. And then there's tenant satisfaction measures, which are part of the the consumer standards. So your tenant satisfaction measures will increase hopefully when you tackle conflict at the source and earlier on, rather than leaving conflict to escalate. There are increased powers and publicity from the Housing Ombudsman Service around tackling conflict and low-level conflict in neighbour disputes. So yeah, it's a really, really, really important factor in housing at present. So there are different types of conflict. So I'm going to go through the four main ones for you, and it's mediation is the one that's most common, that most people know of. And what mediation does is it increases understanding between parties. Parties agree how they can live with each other. And when they can do this, they're more likely to take responsibility for their own actions and behaviour. Mediation is something done with parties rather than forced upon them. It builds empathy and it makes people feel heard, because in a mediation meeting, usually both parties get a chance to speak and be heard about the issues that are affecting them, and they feel heard. They feel that they've been able to voice the issues that they're experiencing to the other person, whereas they can't often do that within an ongoing dispute. And because the mediator is independent and will facilitate a meeting between the parties, it's like a safe space for them to be able to speak about how they're feeling and the effect the conflict's having on their lives. So mediation is most appropriate for low-level issues where there's a need for all parties to compromise, or where it's important that one party understands the impact their behaviour is having on another. It shouldn't be used if there's fear, intimidation, etc. Because if it's higher level and you need to do something else, then you need to take some kind of legal action. It shouldn't be used under those circumstances. However, I mean, I've worked in this sector a long, long time, and I will say that sometimes following legal action or following something that's major that's happened, i.e., where you've had you have an injunction in place or some form of a legal remedy in place, and the parties still have to live next door to each other. You often hear of organisations having suspended possession orders where the customers still have to live next door to each other. it can work really well in those circumstances to try and to repair the relationship between the parties. I'm not saying they're ever going to be friends, but it can be a way forward. Um, don't assume that refusal is always due not to not wanting to cooperate. It might be that somebody doesn't feel they can, they're not in a good place, there are other things happening in their lives. And maybe they just don't want to meet with the person, or they don't want to be in the same room as the other person. Um, there can be a variety of reasons. And I don't know if any of you have heard the use of shuttle mediation. When somebody doesn't want to be in the same room, we can often use shuttle mediation where one or the other or another of the parties don't particularly want to speak to each other at that present time, or are not in the right frame of mind. Um, I would say if somebody doesn't want to cooperate, or tells you they don't want to cooperate, then I would suggest that you speak to the mediator, because the mediator can often explain the process in more detail, and sometimes can bring that person round. Shuttle mediation is where we mediate between the parties. The mediator shuttles between the parties, usually done in their own home. And basically, the mediator will visit one party, take down the issues that they're experiencing, and then they will speak to the other party. This can be done over the phone, or it can be done online, or again in the home. Um, Historically, shuttle mediation was always done in the home prior to COVID. And basically, the mediator shuttles between the parties to try to get an agreement between them. And it works very well. It can work very well. I had one last week where, yeah, the parties just had fallen out that much. They just didn't want to meet. But I was able to shuttle between them, and we were able to get an agreement, which yeah, and it was fine. I would say that by explaining the benefits, you can encourage engagement, but a good mediator will often be able to contact both parties and explain, have a longer conversation with them, and get them to engage. Again, I would say if you're trying to encourage engagement, it's really about explaining the benefits and how it may be able to change their lives. Because the conflict, they're agreeing a way forward so that the conflict it goes away, and they're able to live in peace. Um, I'm going to move on to conflict coaching. What is it? Conflict coaching or conflict resolution? It's sometimes referred to as one-party mediation. It's a completely confidential service that allows a person space to reflect on events and plan a strategy and improve strategy on dealing with any current and future disputes. Works very well for people who don't like conflict, or really shy away from conflict, or find it causes them stress and anxiety. It gives the person coping strategies for dealing with conflict going forward, and the coach will often see them through any kind of disputes, ongoing disputes. They'll be there to support them. It allows the parties to offload in a confidential, non-judgmental environment where they can say whatever they feel, and it's confidential, and it won't go any further. It won't affect anything that they do going forward. So it equips the party with lifelong skills that allows them to manage conflict in a productive manner. Sessions are tailored to individual needs, and so people can work towards personal goals that for themselves. And the coach will provide support through ongoing conflicts, and helps the party to achieve the best possible outcome for them and their families. What is restorative justice? Again, I'm just going to move on now to restorative justice. It's usually used where there's a clear harm than a clear harmer. I touched on it a bit earlier. It's a chance for the harmer to put right the harm. And the range of options can be an apology, paying for damage, litter picking, etc. There's a vast range of of options for putting the harm right, but you have to have somebody who has said, yeah, I did it, I'm sorry, it won't happen again, and you take it from there, and the parties can meet together, and yeah, look at a way forward. And the other restorative practice is good neighbor agreements, good neighborhood agreements, or good neighbor agreements. They are voluntary agreements. They outline acceptable behaviour and the consequences of unacceptable behaviour within a community, but you can use them for one party or two parties. It aims to promote good relations, to prevent disputes and create a stable, sustainable environment. It's great for a whole street, or particularly great for lots of organisations are using them where they have new housing stock going forward, where they're likely to have issues around children playing or parking. They're really, really good. They're non-legally binding, but they are voluntary. They're designed to obtain a commitment from residents to contribute to a safe and welcoming environment, by showing respect and tolerance to neighbours. That's what they do. And really that sums up conflict, restorative practices, and why they should be included in your housing management policy or good neighbourhood management policy. David, you've asked me a question, can it be for both sides of the dispute? Uh, what 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 was which restorative practice are you asking that for? Yes, it absolutely can, David. Yeah, it can be used for both parties. It's done on an individual basis, whereas mediation and restorative justice and good neighbour agreements, they're done with the parties present, but the coaching is done separately, and then hopefully once the coaching is done, the sessions are done, and the person feels confident. The coach will usually be a mediation officer as well, or a mediation practitioner, and can help facilitate a mediation agreement between the parties. Um, does does anybody have any other questions? Okay. If not, I'm going to let you go, guys. Thank you so much. And again, I'm really sincerely apologize um for the technical hitch. I will get the presentation sent over to you this afternoon as soon as possible, if that's okay. And thank you all so much. Bye now.